Consistency is the great separator. It's not talent that builds a legacy. It's not luck that earns respect. It's not passion that finishes the race. It's consistency. And the truth is, most people don't lack ability. They lack the will to keep showing up. Every person walking this planet carries a vision, a hope, or a goal tucked away in their mind. Whether it's building a business, getting in shape, writing a book, becoming a better parent, or finding peace of mind. Everyone wants something, but wanting is easy. Dreaming is cheap. Goals are plentiful. What separates the ones who turn goals into reality from the ones who keep resetting the same resolutions every year is one word: discipline. Discipline is the quiet force that gets you out of bed when comfort tells you to stay. It's the voice that says, keep going when no one is watching and no one is clapping. It's the strength to follow through on your promises to yourself long after the feeling you made those promises in has faded away. Motivation is emotional, it's fleeting, but discipline is deliberate. Discipline is a decision. Most people don't fail because they aren't smart enough or talented enough. They fail because they can't stay consistent long enough. They get excited for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and then they lose steam. Life throws a curveball. Something gets in the way. They skip one day, then two, and before they know it, they've abandoned the very thing they said was important. That's the moment where discipline either steps in or you step out. That's the moment that separates growth from stagnation. We've been sold this idea that if we don't feel like doing something, it's better to wait until we do. That's a lie. The truth is, if you only act when it's convenient, you'll never build anything that matters. Discipline isn't about waiting for the right mood. It's about doing what needs to be done regardless of the mood you're in. It's not about feeling inspired, it's about being committed. And yes, it's hard. Of course, it's uncomfortable, but comfort is where progress goes to die. Discipline lives in discomfort. It thrives in the places most people avoid. The early mornings, the long nights, the moments of self-doubt, the times when quitting seems like the easier path. That's where discipline earns its value. Think about any person you admire, an athlete, an artist, an entrepreneur, a leader. Behind the scenes, behind the awards, behind the fame is a mountain of disciplined decisions. The hours spent training when no one was watching, the meals skipped, the parties missed, the temptations resisted, the 100 little sacrifices that no one ever sees but are absolutely essential to greatness. That's what you're choosing when you choose discipline. You're choosing your future self over your present comfort. And here's the truth: discipline builds self-respect. Every time you show up for yourself, you strengthen your identity. You begin to believe deeply that you are the kind of person who follows through. And that belief, that becomes your power. Because once you believe you can trust yourself, everything changes. Confidence grows, courage grows, and suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. So when you feel like quitting, remember this: your goals are valid, your dreams are worth it. But you won't reach them by waiting for the perfect moment or hoping for more motivation. You'll reach them by building the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. That bridge is discipline. And every step you take in discipline moves you closer to a life you'll be proud of. We live in a culture that glorifies big wins, viral success, overnight transformation, headlines that read, "How I made $1 million in 30 days," or "How I lost 50 pounds in 6 weeks." But what they rarely talk about, what almost no one celebrates, are the small, unglamorous steps. The ordinary days, the quiet effort, the steady process. And yet, that's where real change lives. Consistency beats intensity. One intense effort doesn't make you strong. One salad doesn't make you healthy. One great day of work doesn't build a career. One apology doesn't restore a broken relationship. It's what you do every day that shapes your future, not what you do occasionally, but what you do consistently. We've been conditioned to chase the finish line without honoring the process, but life doesn't reward you for starting fast. It rewards you for not quitting. And the most powerful way to keep going is to stop trying to leap mountains in a day. Start taking one small step, then another. The power of small, repeated action is that it compounds. Just like money in a savings account with interest, your habits start to accumulate value over time. You may not see the return immediately. You may feel like nothing is happening, but under the surface, change is building, momentum is forming, and then one day you look back and you don't recognize the person you used to be. But here's the key: you have to show up, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. Because that's the trap. Most people quit, not because it's too hard, but because it feels too slow. They mistake lack of speed for lack of progress. They give up because they're not seeing fireworks. But the most meaningful changes rarely announce themselves with fanfare. They arrive quietly, wrapped in routine. Imagine someone who wants to get in shape. They go to the gym for a week, eat clean for a few days, and feel great, but when they look in the mirror and don't see a dramatic difference, they think it's not working. That's the mistake. The mirror is always the last to reflect the effort. The result is always delayed. That delay is where character is built. Or think about writing a book. You don't write 300 pages in a weekend. You write a paragraph, then a page, then a chapter. You fight through distractions, through doubt, through the voice in your head telling you it's not good enough, and you just keep writing. That's how books get written. That's how lives get rewritten. The truth is, you don't have to make huge leaps to change your life. You don't have to run marathons, quit your job tomorrow, or start some radical new plan. What you do have to do is something. Every day, even if it's just a little bit. Even if it feels insignificant. Because you're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be consistent. And if you can master that, if you can find the strength to do the small things every day, you can build anything. Anything. A better body, a better mindset, a better life. It all begins with your willingness to keep going, one step at a time. Most people never realize their potential, not because they didn't try, but because they didn't keep trying. They stopped too soon. They walked away before the results had a chance to arrive. Don't let that be you. Don't give up on something just because it takes time. All good things take time. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. But you have time. You just have to use it. And the way you use it, what you choose to do each day, will shape the rest of your life. Motivation is an amazing spark. It's exciting, it's loud, it gives you energy, clarity, and a vision of what's possible. It whispers in your ear, you can do this. And when it hits, it feels like nothing can stop you. But here's the reality. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like the weather. It might be there in the morning and gone by the afternoon. It might stick around for a week and then vanish without warning. And when that happens, most people stop. They think the feeling has to be there in order to take action. They wait for the fire to return before they move forward again. That's the mistake. Motivation is only meant to start the engine. It's never been meant to carry you the whole way. If you want to go the distance, if you want to truly change your life, you need something stronger. That's where habits come in. Habits don't care how you feel. Habits don't ask for permission. Habits are automatic, and once a habit is locked in, it carries you even on the days when your mind is tired, your mood is off, or your motivation is nowhere to be found. That's why habits are more powerful than feelings, because feelings are unpredictable. Some days you'll feel confident, some days you won't. Some days you'll wake up ready to conquer the world, other days you'll wonder if you're even capable. But a solid habit system turns "I don't feel like it" into "I do it anyway." Takes the weight off your shoulders by removing the need to decide over and over again. You don't negotiate with yourself, you just follow through. Building habits is like laying bricks. One brick doesn't make a wall, but stack them day after day, and eventually you build something strong enough to stand on. That's how consistency is created. Not by chasing the high of motivation, but by establishing habits that align with your vision. That's how identity is formed. Not by inspiration, but by repetition. Think about someone who wakes up early every day to exercise. After a while, it's not about motivation anymore. It becomes who they are. I'm the kind of person who trains even when I don't feel like it. That's the kind of internal identity that can't be shaken by moods or circumstances. It's rooted in action, not emotion. The strongest people in any area of life, whether fitness, business, relationships, or mindset, have learned how to turn discipline into routine and routine into identity. And it doesn't take massive change to start. That's the beauty of habits. They begin small. A 5-minute walk, a single healthy meal, 10 pages of reading, one honest conversation. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to be consistent with small behaviors until they become automatic. Over time, they compound, they gain momentum, and one day, without even realizing it, you become the kind of person who does hard things consistently. When motivation is gone, and it will be, your habits will still be there. When life gets messy, your schedule gets busy, and stress comes knocking at your door, your habits are what holds you together. They're the foundation you fall back on when everything else feels uncertain. So yes, get motivated, use it when it's there, let it inspire you, let it light that fire inside, but don't depend on it. Instead, build a system that doesn't need to be inspired to function. Build a routine that doesn't collapse under pressure. Build habits that are strong enough to carry you when your emotions want to give up. Because in the end, it's not the spark that determines your future. It's what you do after the spark fades. That's where your real power lives. If you ever want to know what your life will look like 5 years from now, don't look at your dreams, look at your daily routine. Because the future isn't built by what you wish to do, it's built by what you actually do, day after day, week after week. Your habits and routines are silently carving out your future. Scary part? Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think one bad day won't matter, one skipped workout, one day of procrastination, one more excuse, one more compromise. They convince themselves they'll make it up later, but later never comes. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and then one day they wake up and wonder why they're still stuck in the same place, battling the same problems, feeling the same regret. The truth is simple but powerful. Every routine you keep is either pulling you closer to your potential or pushing you further from it. That's why consistency is more than a habit. It's a reflection of who you are becoming. Your routine is a vote for the identity you're building. If your daily life is filled with distractions, shortcuts, and broken promises to yourself, your future will reflect that. Not because you're a bad person, but because the compound effect of those little choices adds up. And what you do consistently, you eventually become. Now ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to live? Not in fantasy, but in reality. What kind of person do you want to be? If the answer is strong, healthy, resilient, successful, peaceful, then your routine must begin to reflect that intention. You don't get there by accident. You don't stumble into excellence. You build it deliberately, daily, and sometimes painfully. We all want results, but not everyone is willing to change their lifestyle to match those results. That's the hard truth. Success, peace of mind, fulfillment, they aren't found in moments of inspiration. They're found in a disciplined life. They're born in routines you follow even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. And here's the beauty of it all. Routines don't have to be perfect to work. You don't have to get it right every single time. You just have to show up more often than not. You don't need an extreme routine. You need a sustainable one. A routine that you can live with, one that respects your limits but challenges your excuses. Some people think routine means restriction. They believe consistency kills freedom, but the truth is, the right routine creates freedom. It gives you the structure to focus, the rhythm to create, the boundaries to protect your time and energy. You don't waste your days spinning your wheels in chaos or indecision. You move with purpose. You grow with direction. Think about it. When was the last time you stuck to a good routine for even 30 days straight? Not perfectly, but intentionally. Think about how you felt. The clarity, the energy, the quiet confidence that grows when you follow through on what you said you'd do. That feeling, that's not a fluke. That's your potential rising to meet your preparation. That's your future knocking at the door of your present. You don't have to overhaul your life in a day. Start with the morning. Start with your sleep. Start with what you feed your mind. Start with how you handle distractions. Then stack the small wins. That's how you take control. That's how you shift the trajectory of your life, not by chance, but by choice. Your routine is always telling a story. And the question is it telling the story of who you used to be or the story of who you're becoming? Because at the end of the day, your future isn't waiting somewhere in the distance. It's already taking shape in the quiet, ordinary decisions you make each day. That's where transformation begins. There is a kind of quiet pain that doesn't scream, doesn't show on the outside, but corrodes a person from within. It's the pain of broken promises, the ones we make to ourselves. And the more often we break those promises, the more we chip away at something essential. Our self-respect. It starts small. You tell yourself you'll wake up early, but the alarm rings and you hit snooze. You say you'll eat clean, but by lunch you give in. You promise to get serious about your goals, but another week passes and nothing changes. These might seem like harmless choices in the moment, but every time you go back on your word, you weaken your own trust in yourself. And without that trust, confidence crumbles, discipline collapses, and the worst part, you start to believe you're not capable. But the truth is, you are capable. You're just not consistent yet. When you don't follow through on your own word, something powerful happens. Your mind remembers. Your subconscious registers every broken commitment, and over time, your brain stops believing you when you say, "I'm going to change." That's not a lack of ability, that's the cost of inconsistency. You can't build a strong life on weak promises, not even if you say them with passion. What matters isn't what you say in the mirror. What matters is what you do when no one is watching. That's where self-respect is forged. In private battles, in quiet decisions, in small victories, you win over your own comfort. Now here's the truth most people avoid. Self-respect isn't something you find, it's something you earn. And you earn it by keeping your word, especially to yourself. It's easy to keep a promise when someone else is counting on you. You don't want to disappoint your boss, your family, your friends, but when it's just you, that's when it really counts. That's where your character shows up. Because you can't fake consistency. You either show up or you don't. You either do the work or you lie to yourself again. People think self-esteem comes from compliments, from looking good, from approval. But the deepest, most lasting form of confidence comes from knowing you can count on you. That's the real source of power. When you become the kind of person who doesn't flinch in front of hard work, the kind of person who honors commitments even when no one's keeping score, the kind of person who keeps their word not to impress the world, but to respect themselves. It's not about being perfect. You're gonna slip, you're gonna miss days. But the difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck isn't perfection, it's recommitment. When you fall off, get back up. When you miss a day, reset and start again. Don't let a mistake become a pattern, because every time you get back up, you send a message to your mind. I'm not giving up on myself. And over time, that message becomes your identity. That identity becomes your strength, and that strength becomes unstoppable. The most successful people in the world don't have more time, talent, or luck than you. What they do have is a high standard for themselves. And they enforce that standard, not with shame or punishment, but with discipline and self-respect. They don't wait for the world to believe in them. They believe in themselves because they've earned it. Day after day, they've kept their promises, and now they walk with a quiet confidence that no one can give and no one can take away. That same confidence is available to you. It starts the moment you say enough. Enough with the excuses, enough with the false starts, enough with pretending tomorrow will be different if today stays the same. Start small. One promise, one commitment, one thing you follow through on today, no matter how small it seems, and let that be the beginning of a new standard, a new chapter, where your word means something again, not to others, to you. Most people hear the word discipline and immediately think of suffering, of saying no, of a cold, rigid life stripped of fun, flexibility, or peace. They think discipline means you're forcing yourself through a joyless routine, that is something you have to endure, like punishment. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Real discipline is not about punishment, it's not about restriction, it's about freedom. Freedom from chaos, freedom from regret, freedom from the weight of being behind in life and wondering where your time went. You see, when you lack discipline, you're not free, you're trapped. Trapped in cycles, trapped in self-sabotage, trapped in the same problems you said you wanted to change last year, the year before, and the year before that. When you don't have discipline, your life is run by impulse. And here's the painful truth. Your impulses rarely lead you to a life you're proud of. They lead you to shortcuts, to convenience, to what feels good in the moment, but often leaves you feeling worse after. Discipline, on the other hand, creates structure. And structure gives your life shape. It gives your energy direction. When you have discipline, you're not wasting time deciding every day whether or not you'll take action. You already decided. You follow through not because you feel like it, but because it's who you are. That's not restriction. That's power. That's control. Let's look at it from a different angle. Who has more freedom? The person who can barely climb a flight of stairs without gasping for breath, or the one who trains consistently and can run for miles without pain? Who has more freedom? The person who can't afford to say no to a toxic job because they haven't developed the skills or mindset to create new opportunities, or the one who built discipline over years and now has option? Freedom doesn't fall out of the sky. Freedom is earned through responsibility, and responsibility grows from discipline. So that's the thing no one tells you when you're chasing comfort. Comfort without discipline becomes a prison. It starts to cost you your energy, your time, your health, your relationships, everything. Because you're always choosing ease now at the expense of difficulty later. But when you flip that equation, when you choose a little difficulty now, through discipline, you get to live with ease later. That's the trade-off. One is pain with a purpose. The other is pain with a cost. And discipline isn't about being perfect or robotic. It's not about stripping life of joy. In fact, it's the opposite. When you build discipline into your life, you start to enjoy your life more because you're proud of yourself. You walk into each day with more peace because you're not hiding from yourself anymore. You're not buried under guilt, excuses, or the stress of falling behind. You're showing up, and that kind of pride, that internal fire, it does something incredible to your spirit. Let's be honest, there's a reason most people don't build this kind of consistency. It's hard, it's not glamorous, it's repetitive. But if you can learn to fall in love with the process, not the feeling, not the outcome, but the process, you gain something far more powerful than comfort. You gain freedom from fear, freedom from stagnation, freedom from being tossed around by life, always reacting, never leading. You wake up and know where your time is going. You know your values, you know your goals, and best of all, you trust yourself to move toward them every single day. That's the kind of life most people wish for, but wishing doesn't get you there. Discipline does. Because when your life is built on consistency, your success becomes inevitable. There's a kind of quiet tragedy that haunts too many lives. And it doesn't come from failure, it comes from delay, from postponing the work we know we should do, from waiting for the perfect time, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, next week, next year. But delay has a cost. And the longer you wait to be consistent, the further the life you want drifts out of reach. You may not feel that cost right away. In fact, it often feels like nothing happened. You skip one workout, no big deal. You miss one writing session, life goes on. You procrastinate on your goal, and the world doesn't collapse. That's how it tricks you, because the damage isn't instant. It's invisible, but it's there. Delay is a thief that steals quietly. It robs your momentum. It weakens your self-belief. It teaches your brain that your word means nothing. And over time, those small choices add up, not to success, but to regret. The scary part, the more you delay, the better you get at it. You start building habits around avoidance. You justify the excuses. You defend your distractions. And before you know it, procrastination becomes your comfort zone. You stop dreaming with urgency. You stop acting with clarity. And one day you wake up and wonder where all the time went, wondering why nothing's changed. What people don't realize is that every single day holds a decision. You're either building the life you want or you're watching it fade. That doesn't mean you need to sprint or hustle nonstop. It just means you must move. Even a small, consistent step is infinitely better than standing still. Progress doesn't demand perfection, it demands direction. And direction only happens when you show up today, not someday. Let's bring it closer to home. Think about a dream or a goal that's been sitting in the back of your mind. Maybe it's writing a book, starting a business, healing your body, deepening your relationships, whatever it is. Ask yourself, why haven't I started yet? Most of the time, the answer isn't because you're lazy. It's because you're afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of judgment. Afraid it won't be perfect. But here's the truth. It won't be perfect, not at first. And that's okay. Because consistency doesn't require brilliance. It requires bravery. Bravery to begin. Bravery to be bad at something until you get good. Bravery to take ownership of your time, your habits, and your life. You have to understand, the life you want isn't waiting, it's moving. And if you're not moving with it, you're falling behind. Opportunity doesn't stay paused while you think it over. The window won't always be open. You don't get forever. Time is the one resource you never get back, and every time you say later, you're gambling with something you cannot replace. But here's the good news. Consistency doesn't need a grand gesture to begin. It starts in the smallest of ways, waking up 10 minutes earlier, turning off the distraction, showing up when it's inconvenient, choosing the difficult thing over the easy one. Once, then again, and soon you've built momentum. You've trained your mind to act, not avoid. You've shifted from someday to today, and that shift, that small change in posture, is the beginning of transformation. Because the real cost of delay isn't just lost time, it's lost potential, lost confidence, lost chances to become someone stronger, wiser, more fulfilled. You don't have to keep paying that price. You can draw a line right now. You can decide that today is the last day you let your future drift away, not by making promises, but by taking action, not by hoping, but by doing. Every single day is a fresh chance to get closer or drift further. The choice has always been yours. So what does it all come down to? It comes down to a choice. A choice that doesn't ask you to be extraordinary. A choice that doesn't demand perfection or genius or talent. It asks only this, that you show up. That you rise one more time than you fall. That you push through one more day than your doubts say you can. That you keep the promises you make when no one else is watching. Because that's where greatness is born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadow. Not in applause, but in solitude. In the early mornings when it's easier to sleep. In the late nights when it's tempting to quit. In the quiet decision to do what you said you would do again and again and again. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about integrity. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't wait to feel motivated, who doesn't chase moods, who doesn't depend on outside circumstances to dictate their destiny. It's about being the kind of person who honors their word, not for the world, but for themselves. That's where your power lives, in doing the hard things without needing to be told, in moving forward when no one claps, in staying committed to a future only you can see. Because here's the truth, your life is not shaped by what you do once in a while, it's shaped by what you do consistently. And if you can learn to master consistency, you can rewrite the story of your life. You can become stronger than your excuses, wiser than your fears, greater than your past. You don't need more time, you don't need better luck. You need to decide right now that you are worth the effort, that your future is worth the work, that your dreams are worth the discipline, and that your life is too precious to keep putting off. So, start. Not tomorrow, not when it feels perfect. Start today. Start with what you have. Start with what you have. Start where you are, and don't stop. Because the life you want doesn't belong to the most talented or the most lucky. It belongs to the most consistent. Be that person, and you'll never have to chase confidence again. You'll become it.